All right, guys, I was just having a pissy fit because Loom.com always likes to change their interface and crap all the time. And it annoys Christopher. It does not make him happy because then he's got to spend 10-15 minutes. And I know it doesn't seem like a long time, but still, when you want to jump on and make a video, it's a long time. Why am I here? Oh yeah, we're doing movie reviews. And what we're talking about today is a trilogy of films called Antboy. And not a blatant ripoff of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. I would say more of an homage, because it definitely knows it's taking from that Marvel character source material, and it's definitely letting you know that it's taking from that Marvel comic source material. And there's a lot of references to DC Comics and Marvel Comics, so it's definitely a tip of the hat to those type characters. So we are going to delve into these three films and take a look at them. Let's look at the trilogy of Antboy. If you haven't seen my movie review videos before, I focus on free streaming content online that doesn't cost you a dime to watch. You may have to view a commercial here and there. I don't even really notice them anymore. In the case of Vudu, they don't play very many during a given movie. Links to all three of these Antboy movies can be found in the description, and please comment any thoughts you may have on these films below. Let me start off by saying and acknowledging I am not the target audience for any of these films. The Antboy Trilogy is aimed at kids, and although at times I do have the mentality of a kid, these aren't my particular kind of films. I would probably compare these to the Spy Kid movies or The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. These films would be more in that caliber of audience. I made sure to put myself in that mindset before judging these films. Although it was well over 100 years ago, I tried to channel my inner 10-year-old and see these three films from those eyes. And the first thing I realized is my eyesight was a lot better back then, and I should look into prescription glasses. All three of these films can be watched free through Vudu and YouTube. Let's delve into each film, shall we? Pelle is no one special, just an ordinary 12-year-old. The most beautiful girl at school, Amanda, with whom he is secretly in love, hardly knows he exists. It's only the bullies who notice Pelle. One day, while they're chasing him, Pelle hides in his neighbor's garden and is bitten by an ant. The next morning, he has gained the powers of the ant, super strength, a heightened sense of smell, and the ability to climb walls. Soon, the comic book nerd Wilhelm discovers his powers. Wilhelm is convinced that Pelle must use his powers to become a superhero and fight crime. Pelle agrees to Wilhelm's plan in order to impress Amanda, and before long, the superhero Antboy is making life miserable for the criminals. Unfortunately, Pelle discovers that he isn't the only one with superpowers. A scary opponent called the Flea shows up and kidnaps Amanda. Will Antboy manage to defeat the Flea? The film, a 2014 Danish import that has been wisely, if not quite seamlessly, dubbed into English to accommodate younger viewers, starts with the unpopular Pelle considering himself more invisible man than nerd. Even Pelle's distracted parents barely seem to acknowledge him. There's absolutely nothing new here. If you've been watching superhero films in the past decade, you have a socially awkward character yearning for the popular girl in the class. Although they do put a bit of a spin on that when he actually becomes friends and falls for her sister. Beyond that, as I indicated in my opening, this is pretty much a Danish Spider-Man substitute, and it knows it. These films don't pretend to not acknowledge this fact. Their characters even mention both Marvel and DC universes throughout the three films. This is basically a Danish tip of the hat to those classic comic book characters. Our main protagonist gets bitten by a super genetically altered ant, puts together a costume, fights back against the bullies who have been tormenting him and other weaker kids, getting a supervillain to go toe-to-toe with. At the climax, all the familiar ingredients and tropes are present and accounted for. These are the quotes from the director about the character. My intention with Antboy is to give the audience the same rush that I felt as a child watching superhero movies like Tim Burton's Batman and Richard Donner's Superman the movie. Antboy is a film about a 12-year-old boy who by coincidence becomes a real superhero, and through the changes and the struggle with his new identity, he learns to accept who he is, as well as realize the importance of friendship. And this is also from the director, this isn't from me. The film is filled with action, has a strong moral. You don't need superpowers to remain who you are as long as you have friends who stand by you. It's a film that is true to a genre without surrendering to irony. However, it still manages to maintain a tongue-in-cheek tone. I wanted to tell a story, a classic story about good versus evil using the language of modern film without compromising either its style or substance. And to me, this was an enjoyable film to watch once I decided I can't compare these to Hollywood. I also can't compare these to some of the awful shit I've reviewed already. I needed to wipe everything I knew about superhero movies out of my mind and focus with an unbiased perspective. I enjoyed this movie. I think it was the best of the three. Doesn't that happen with most trilogies? The first one is always the best one overall. Everything was competent about this film. There was an extreme effort to make this a homage while including the fundamentals of a Denmark setting, which isn't much different from an American setting, really. Even the dubbing wasn't terrible in the first one, although it does get worse with each sequel. You can tell in some parts it didn't take me out of the movie at all. I probably would have figured it out if I didn't even know it was a Danish movie going in. If you're older and set in your superhero ways, you'd probably tear this movie apart, and I would tell you that would be unjust. I'm pretty harsh with these independent superhero movies at times, but I have a soft spot for these three films. They gave me some escapism and a smile for a few hours. They made me remember when I first fell in love with comic books, and maybe just because it was a simpler time back then. That's the thing with nostalgia. Everyone thinks their childhood was simpler, dating all the way back to the Ice Age, and maybe so. Overall, the first Antboy film in this trilogy was a welcome surprise, and if you only watch one of these three films, I would make it this one. Antboy 2, Revenge of the Red Fury from 2015. Antboy finds his world thrust back into danger when a new band of supervillains arises. The Terror Twins, fueled by a sinister DNA-altering serum, wreak havoc on the city while Red Fury, a friend-turned-foe, attacks Antboy in an attempt at revenge. Let me read you a review from a website called Common Sense Media. It's like some pastor from 1954 wrote this, or some social justice warrior, or the idiot that wrote The Seduction of the Innocents. And it reads, Antboy Revenge of the Red Fury is a 2014 Danish tween superhero movie sequel to the Antboy that contains some inappropriate humor and verbal and physical bullying. The superhero Antboy is shown urinating in a toilet, and his urine breaks the toilet. In another scene is the audible sound of flatulence. Two teen bullies who later transform into bad guys with superpowers verbally taunt an awkward tween girl trying to ice skate for the first time. They call her loser and weirdo before knocking her to the ground, and they knock down other skaters with hockey sticks. Antboy defeats another pair of bad guys by punching them in their crotch regions. The girl who is bullied on the ice rink later tries to get revenge on Antboy after she feels spurned by him and becomes angry and bitter at the whole world for rejecting her as a misfit. Through the power of her mind, she causes Antboy's pants to fall down while he's trying to ask out a girl. Actually, that's not even what happened. He had a crush on for a long time. Aside from comic book style heroism, there really are no consequences for bullying, which seems to be shown more as a fact of life at school instead of something that's wrong. First, if it wasn't by her mind, her power was invisibility, so she pulled him down while she was invisible. But Jesus Christ, that person isn't invited to my next party anyways. This person must have had never seen movies from the 1980s, and if they did, they probably urinate on themselves and send out many bursts of flatulence. I hate to tell them, but I am farting away big time while reading their synopsis. They're giving me gas, and that is the true evil. Not my gas, them giving it to me. Basically, this is a kid's movie, and kids laugh at farting and peeing. Shit, I'm 51 years old, and I laugh at farting and peeing. As far as bullying is concerned, clearly they didn't take away the same message as I did with the movie. I'll put it this way. If you're being a fucking asshole and obnoxiously interfering with someone's life and happiness, you'd be lucky the only thing you received was a punch in the crotch. Take your punch to the crotch, go ice your balls, and then stop being a punk-ass fuckstick. Now, let me read you a review that fits more to what I think about the movie. This review reads, after watching the first Antboy and thoroughly enjoying it, which I did as well, I dipped into the barrel for Antboy 2 Revenge of the Red Fury. This review is based on the English dub version, and I found the sequel to be a highly enjoyable experience. First off, this movie is packed with positive messages, including the theme of loyalty, the importance of admitting one's wrongs, and forgiveness. It also shows the potential consequences of bullying and the importance of keeping one's promise to others. As far as inappropriate material, I found it to be virtually non-existent in the English version. No cursing whatsoever. Okay, they used the word dang once, but that's not a curse word. No one uses God's name in vain. All the relationships between the boys and girls were focused on caring for and valuing the individual, not on an inappropriate, lustful sexual attraction. The parts with the so-called bathroom humor are not as gratuitous or graphic, but actually part of the plot. It isn't put there for the sake of being off-color. This comes from a person who abhors of off-color material in movies for adults and especially kids' movies. I didn't find it offensive at all, and I don't often get to say that about movies these days. The dubbing, while I concede might be a little distracting to some, didn't bother me at all. You do notice that the words don't match the motion of the actor's mouth, but I have seen much worse in the way of dubbing. I personally prefer to watch foreign films in the original language with subtitles, but since this film is marketed to kids, I understand the dubbing approach. I would certainly recommend this film to the average age 8-year-old and up, with a caveat of there being some good guy, bad guy violence and intense scenes at times, which entails a parent's discretion as to how their child responds to such scenes and stories. The reason I read both those to you is what a difference. Two people watching the same film and came out with two totally opposite opinions. My opinion is it's not as good as the first movie. It's better than the second movie. It's pretty standard as any trilogy goes. And that brings us to Antboy 3 from 2016, the final chapter in the Antboy Trilogy, the Antboy Saga. Antboy enters his teenage years and considers retiring until his nemesis is released from prison. Antboy is challenged by the release of archenemy Loppen, aka the Flea, from prison, the new supervillain Alicia Dufort, and competition from an all-new vigilante, the hero without a name. It's summertime and Pelle is enjoying life with his girlfriend Ida. Crime in Midland is at an all-time low and life is actually pretty sweet. But Pelle has started to tire of being Antboy, and perhaps the town doesn't need a superhero anymore. Besides, Pelle and Ida are going to continuation school together after summer vacation. I don't know, is it like college over there? And he will consequently have to give up being Antboy, which actually suits him fine. On the flip side, he hasn't seen much of Wilhelm over the summer. It's as if the two of them have drifted apart. Suddenly, strange things start happening. A new superhero appears and completely humiliates Antboy. The Flea is released from Dragonsborg and apparently starts working for Exo Farm again. Wilhelm completely detaches himself from the world of comic books and eventually also from Pelle. Pelle is forced to take matters into his own hands. He has to find out who this new supervillain is, what the Flea is plotting in Exo Farm's labs, and what is going on with Wilhelm. Pelle's summer vacation, which up to this point had been quite relaxing, suddenly takes an unexpected turn, and Pelle will face his biggest and perhaps final battle as Antboy. Oh boy. Like the two previous Antboy movies, this movie features quirky characters, moments of awkward teen embarrassment, and a playful take on the superhero story. The English voiceovers might get annoying from time to time, more so in this film than others. I'm not sure what the big difference was, or maybe after watching 3 of these things I was starting to notice more. There's action that's not gratuitously violent, characters are developed enough and likable, and villains who are creepy enough to be despised, but not likely to cause nightmares. And whereas there is so often a lowering of quality with each successful sequel to a movie franchise, no matter the genre, this also holds true for Antboy 3. This film seemed to camp up the camp in the lady playing the villain of Alicia Dufort, or at least the voiceover actress was terrible. But again, I must remind myself, this film wasn't made for me. You could see the plot beats coming from a mile away. I just didn't enjoy this one as much, no matter how hard I tried. While the other two had a lot of charm, this third one was just dumb and boring. The saving grace of the big bad in this film, and the film as a whole, is that it offered one of the best, most terrible evil villain laughs of all time, and you can be sure as shit believe I will be using this clip throughout my other terrible movie review videos. I may play it a couple times just to please myself, and I love to please myself. And that's that, gals and guys, for this trilogy of Antboy. And first one was really good. I really liked it. Second one was so-so. Third one, not so much, but got through it. And as a collective, it was cool. It just seems like they ran out of ideas and steam at the end there, which, most trilogies do. But I've been watching other stuff. There's free superhero streaming stuff. There's a movie called Valentine that I fell in love with, which I'm going to review. I'm going to make its own review, and then keep shaking the camera. And then I've been watching the Toxic Avenger. I saw the first one again last night. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and I'm going to watch the other. I believe there's 3 more after that, and I'll do its own video, and then some other stuff. Some really shitty, crappy shit I've been watching, which I started videos on. So I'll get those all to you. And I'm going to probably watch some later today after I get outside and say hello to the sun. So that's going to be it. I think that's all I have to tell you this time out, gals and guys. It's taken quite a while to put together these type videos. So if it's something that you're watching and you like, certainly please subscribe, and I'll make an effort to do more of them. But beyond that, thank you very much as always. And like I said, please subscribe, please like, and please share to your superhero friends, superhero lover friends, B-movie lover friends, shitty-ass movie lover friends, shitty-ass lovers. Whatever, just share it to anybody, okay? And hit that stupid fucking bell for updates. And I appreciate you as always, and I'll catch you later. And I am out of here.